session order. Mr. Jeff, would you call the roll, please, sir?
Yes, sir. Raymond Albert.
Present.
Linda Hayes.
Here.
Connie Reed.
Here.
Elizabeth will not be here, and Debbie may or may not be here.
Okay. Provided had time to look over the September the 10th regular meeting minutes. We'll pass on over that and discuss the plan of service and traffic assistance for the real property annexed by the assistant proposed annexation of property in Dixon County tax map 095 parcel 07200 located on Highway 70 East. Now, do you have anybody here to talk and discuss on that? Yes, sir, Ms.
Well, I'm a little here to answer any questions you might have. It's about 5.5 acres being annexed.
All
I
right.
think it's 5.6. We estimate 5.6.
Okay.
Do you have any questions or?
Now, would I ask Mr. Amanda if she got any?
She is on her way. Andrew is on his way, but they are running a few minutes late.
They're like me, they're running late. They're late on
Can
all
we, if it's appropriate, can we defer it or take a break for just a few minutes and give them a chance to get here? I think that would be the appropriate thing to do. I'm sorry, what?
Is there a drinking fountain?
Oh, yeah, outside, just go out and to the right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
while we're waiting, it's okay.
Is that okay with everybody? Because I really want to get Amanda's and his opinion before I say anything or do anything.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. They're on their way. And apologize to the people that are here. We're
Okay.
great. Okay, come get this.
It's just a work session.
Yeah, it's a work session. Okay, here's one. Here's two.
Well, see, that was not a long way.
Oh. We were just taking a break. Didn't have time to get it.
Yeah.
Just long enough for me to get a drink. Oh, he's here?
He's in the park.
Huh? If everyone's late, then no one's late?
You like to make an entrance? Some people have to make an entrance. Yeah.
Oh, here is, we haven't gotten to this, but here's these things. I gave them, it's someplace, a big one.
Yep.
Was that on the smaller one? Did it
Yeah.
show up?
It's .02 or 2 acres.
Yeah,
They need to call it.
The number didn't show up on the photocopy.
Yeah.
That was one of my comments, when I explained that.
By the way, Amanda, you're certainly,
I know.
I'm telling you,
I know.
if you want to put anything up there, I don't know how to do it, but y'all, all they do.
I will play with it after the meeting. I was trying to get here early and got delayed. But, yes, I'm very excited and grateful to the council. Thank you.
I'll put mine on. So you have one ready? You care if I put it?
No.
That's it.
I'll just look at it.
I'm in the first one. We're going to Tony Underhill's property. Okay.
Yeah.
That one. They're talking about the rezone. No.
Annexation.
I'm sorry.
And the traffic assessment. Plan Services, Traffic Assessment, Annexation.
Okay. Now, Ms. Amanda, do you have any?
I haven't had a chance to look at the traffic assessment. It came in yesterday, so I haven't had a chance to look at it yet, so I'll hold my comments
Okay.
on that.
Anybody have any questions they need to ask on the traffic assessment?
Assessment, parcel. Parcel owners requesting to have annex that's currently undeveloped and is located in US 70. Site description, generally 11 acres. The area to be annexed consists of 5.686 acres. Bounded to the south by 70. To the east, looking at a single-family residential and wooded. The southern half, which is already in the town, is currently R1. Surrounding parcels are R1, R2, R3. I'm acting like y'all can't read. So I'm just kind of, I'm reading to myself. I'm reading to myself. Strip generation, go ahead.
I was just gonna add, I mean, I know Amanda probably needs to look at this, obviously, and I think she hopefully has time by Tuesday, but assuming we all are able to look at it, you know, the four main things in a TA, in a traffic assessment, are general site description, looks like it's in there, we'll double check. The trip generation, that looks to be on page 4, the 3.0, so that'll need to be looked at, but again, with this being R1, the maximum units, when they have to look at the maximum, it's 8. So it would be 8 on that 5.66 back half. The roadway conditions and access potential and conclusions. So, you know, again, this is much less intense than a traffic impact study. It's designed to be information for this body and then the governing body, for the town council, to evaluate at least the zoning aspects. It's not so much the annexation, this is more tied to the zoning. And it's going to be R1, so you know that, and you're supposed to look at the maximum density. It looks like they have that correct. Anyway, I don't think I have any comments right now. There may be more from me or Amanda on Tuesday, but we'll let the applicant know before Tuesday, hopefully, if there are. But again, it's not one of those big, thick studies. It's designed to give you what's around it, what's it's accessing to, and what's the maximum density under the zoning. And as we know, we've talked about before, this will come in as R1, because the front's already R1, the back by law will come in as R1. So this body on Tuesday will take that traffic assessment into account really for the discussion on the R1 zoning. On the annexation, you're just looking at the plan of services, and we just did 2 last month, and it's the exact same plan of services for the most part that we had for the other 2. So there's not really changes to that.
Anyone else have any more comments? All right, then, we will take it under study for the Tuesday meeting. How's that, Mike?
Yes, sir. And Mr. Chairman, I think that probably covers item number 3 on the agenda as well. Again, by law, it has to come in as R1. There's not really discretion by this body to alter that. So there's already a proposed ordinance that will go up to the town council for this back 5.66 acres of R1. We're just asking for a vote to recommend it on to the council to consider along with the annexation. That's 2 separate votes.
And here, there won't be a public hearing, necessity for a public hearing.
There is a
Here.
public hearing on the plan of services. There is not a public hearing on R1.
Okay.
There will be on both at the council.
At the council, okay.
Okay. That took care of number 3, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Place in Flatbrook. Proposed 70 Church Street. Lieutenant, are here for that.
That is us. That's 70 in church. Yet again, we are here, sir.
Ms. Lindsay.
Yes. Okay, so I did have a couple of comments when going through. I didn't have comments on every section. So when you look at your staff comments, that's why not every section is listed. Some of them are pretty straightforward. I took the general description just pretty much straight from the second version of this regulating pattern book that we're talking about today. The first comment I had is that the RPB, which is Regulating Pattern Book, so I'm just going to shorten it to RPB. The RPB refers to the parcel as being Zone C2 in multiple places throughout the document, and that needs to be corrected as R3 PUD. So if we can make that correction throughout the document. I'm sorry?
Can I say something or should I wait?
If you can wait till the end, that would be great. And then that way we can have a good back and forth. So if we could get that looked at. Section 3 has been clarified by this. I had a comment there. Section 3 indicated that there were 5 parcels, but the plat and the preliminary and final plats appear to show only 4 parcels. That issue has been clarified by this handout that the applicant brought. The 5th parcel is this one here. That's the .02, but it was labeled in a light-colored marker that didn't show up in photocopy. So that, to me, that issue has been resolved. So now, if we can go back and, if the applicant can go back and make sure that that is visible in the RPB, making it very clear that there are, that very clearly identifies the 5th parcel in a darker font, then we will be able to make sure that the plat and the RPB correlate. Section 5 states that the development design attempts to adhere to all applicable zoning and subdivision standards throughout the document. It appears it's referring to the 2021 zoning ordinance or the updated one. There's a reference to both, but for future reference, we do need to know which one is trying to abide by the most. So that would be the 2021 version. For those of us who have been involved intimately with this project from inception, we probably already know that, but we are creating a record with this RPB. So clarity in the version of documents that we're using is really important. So we just need to be sure which version of the zoning ordinance that you are working off of. The most updated version of the zoning ordinance is online, and that includes all of the amendments that you're referring to with the landscaping, with the traffic impact and all of that. So you may want to go back and take a look and just see that. That doesn't change any of your densities or any of the amendments that are going through the process now. So I think that would probably be a safe reference if you wanted to go back and take a look at that. But we do need to know which year you're referencing. Section 7 was kind of interesting. It addresses natural features and references FEMA firm should be capitalized, the flood insurance rate map panel. I verified that is the panel. It claims that the RPB claims that no wetlands exist on the subject property, but I did find from the National Wetlands Inventory that there is. Now this may be slightly off or crossing, so I was hoping that you all would be able to address that today in some of your comments at the end of my presentation, if you wouldn't mind. And in that, in my staff comments, I just included from the National Wetlands Inventory what that classification was, what it means, so on and so forth. I do have a feeling that it straddles property lines, but I'd like you to address that. Section 9, and this is a Roy question, I think, is Roy here?
I'll be here.
Okay, hi Roy. Addresses the architectural renderings, I just, again, for the record, in terms of putting in, the description for, just a kind of shortcut for the reading of the RPD. The height of privacy fence is listed at 6'8". I'm not sure if that's compliant with building code. I just need Roy to say yay or nay. I didn't find any of that in the zoning ordinance, so I defer to building code.
We're actually on fencing, 8 foot is about what we're.
Perfect. Okay, so we're good on that. Okay. Skipping to, let's see, section 14 addresses, commercial use data, photometric plans. Even though in the RPB, the photometric plan is only discussed for commercial, but your plans do show that it's included for residential also. If I were just someone picking up the plan RPB, I would think that there was not a photometric plan included for residential. For clarity, you may want to include a sentence that it's included for both sections, but that's completely up to you. It is there, and that's fine. Section 16 addresses the Owners Association, referencing Appendix G for the HOA. That's definitely not my lane, so I'll defer to Attorney Mills for any comments on that. Section 18 discusses adequate public facilities irrespective of plan unit development. I think from the appendices that the most recent comment sheet from James Clark Associates is not included because it has a February date on it. And I know okay, so I know that there have been others, so we just need to be sure. The other thing is that the applicant is responsible for reimbursing the town for those reviews, so that needs to be settled before it moves on to town council. And finally, the last concern I have about Section 18 is that there are multiple references throughout the RPB about comparisons of this version of the RPB to the other one that was approved. But there's no mention in this section about the fact that turn lanes and the traffic patterns were a major part of the original RPB being approved. So it's completely silent on that. But in sections before and sections after, it continues on with, hey, this was approved, hey, this was approved in the first version, and look, we're doing the same thing. So I think for balance and for clarity purposes, it's important to put into this RPD that a condition of approval of the first version was the turning lane, and in this version, here's what you're offering. So it really is just a matter of one sentence. Just saying, this is what the condition was before, here's what we're offering now. And then that way it's important to show for whatever the planning commission decides and whatever the town council may decide, that this is obviously a major point of conversation still on this version. 19 addresses street design standards. Didn't have any real comments on that. That was just a kind of shortcut of such notes version for whoever reads the staff report. Section 20 addresses the neighborhood meeting documentation, which just requests that a year be added. That it was Monday, the 20th of this year. I think it was this year. And then 21 addresses the recreation plan. That was fine. So those were my comments on the text portion of the RPD. And I had just 5 and some subs on the appendices. My first question was, where will the HVAC units go? On the developer's revised elevation in Appendix E, doesn't indicate where they'll go, if they're going to be on the front side or whatnot, if you need to make any accommodations. That's just a visual thing. I'm sure that you all have planned for that. This may be overkill, but for number 2 in the elevations, you indicate Chick-fil-A and all of the really great hopeful things that we can get here. You may.
Yeah, we're not getting into it.
Yeah, you may want to just put it for illustration only. So then that way, when the RPD is available to the general public, people don't get really excited and say, oh, we got Chick-fil-A, and it's not. Again, comment 3, Appendix 8, it's not the most current, so we need to update that. Let's see. Number 4, in Appendix I, on the regulatory constraint analysis in the letter dated October 31st, 2022, Section 5, regulatory considerations. DRG, the firm recommends limiting impacts to jurisdictional streams and wetlands, provides a recommendation of 6 steps. I'd like you, in your portion of the presentation, to discuss or just touch on if those recommendations are included in a plan anywhere at any time. Of course, if there's not, then that's a non-issue. So that kind of goes back to the other comment in the RPD generally. In Appendix J on the Phase 1, so my 5th and final comment on Appendix J in the Phase 1 environmental assessment. The zoning of the site is R3 PUD, it's been confirmed. Section 5.3, building permit reports appears to be a typo. It says that the site is listed in Dixon when it's obviously not. And then Section 7.0, page 40, under interviews, it references interviewing Fire Marshal Robbie Street, who is in Dixon. As far as I know, Robbie doesn't have any interaction. Okay, so that just needs to be updated for clarity purposes. And that is the end of my comments. Thank you for allowing me to get through that.
Do you have any comments made on that?
I don't think I have anything further. Amanda really covered most of what's in here. Real quick on Section 17, typically like we did last time with 70 in Church, we'll need to review the restrictive covenants, the CC&Rs and everything, and those will need to be ready before the final vote of the town council. I don't need them this moment. What they provided, the A through K, is fairly similar to what they submitted before, but we just need a draft in the next couple of months of what they would do typically. If they don't have it, it could just be subject to our review before they file them, but what they have here is pretty standard and don't have an issue with it at this time.
Can I ask you a question? Sure. We have, so those have, we've already, we think that we turned that in, are you saying we're more to turn in?
It's just a draft. So so I understand what you're saying, the CCRs, that when we do file we'll ask for a one before we file, just because things will change.
Sure.
Now, so then, and then just.
It's just we have to review and approve before those are filed.
Correct.
Yeah.
So which won't be filed until the final is recorded, and that won't be done until all the infrastructures and everything.
Yeah, and so that may need to be a contingency of the vote.
Sure.
That's normal, but we just have to review for a few things before the developer files it. So but right now, based upon what they're providing, standard, not really unusual.
Right.
Is it our, you want to, okay. The references to the C2, most of that falls in the environmental site assessment, which is a 2022 document. It's included as my reference, and it's included as an appendix. So we can't really it would be difficult, it would be improper to update that because when the document was written, it was C2. It's an environmental site assessment, which has a different purpose, but so it's really not, you know,
but
the
it
book.
is in the RPD itself, though, which you have.
Well, I went through and did a search and I didn't find it, so I'll have to do another search. And, yeah, because I saw it in the ESA, but that's dated. That's a dated historical document. But I'll double check. And if you happen to, you know?
If I see it, I'll let
Yeah.
I'll let you know. I should have gone through, actually, I think on my initial notes that I was typing from, I have it called out, but.
It ain't no, we'll figure it out.
Okay.
The wetlands issue,
Yeah.
the wetlands that the state has is somewhat obsolete. We did do the regulatory constraints analysis, which biologists come out and walk the site. They found no wetlands. So their determination is more or less, that's all we need to go by, is that they found no wetlands. Now, they found what we call an ephemeral stream, which is a wet weather conveyance. A wet weather conveyance is not a TDEC jurisdictional stream. It used to be an Army Corps jurisdictional. TDEC doesn't recognize that as a stream.
But Army Corps does.
The Army Corps used to recognize that as a jurisdictional stream, but their rules have changed also. So that will be one that it's kind of, usually that's more of a design one,
Okay.
but we'll have maybe a letter written that will make that just not go away, but make the question go away, that it's a non-issue, so to speak.
Okay, and will you, can you address the question of the 5 or 6 points that DRG has for recommendations?
Yeah, and I called them about that, because at the time we read this, we're like, oh, good, it's all good. But that's kind of boilerplate that they put in. I'll have them write a little letter that makes it crystal clear that they're really, since there's no wetlands, we don't have to do anything with wetlands. And it's the only stream, if you want to call it a stream, I don't even want to use that word, that's a dirty word.
Yeah.
But it's an ephemeral stream, which is, in our language, it flows when it's raining, it doesn't flow when it's not raining. And that's not a TDEC jurisdictional stream. But I'll get something more official than me just verbalizing that.
I appreciate it.
Let me see.
We got the code, we got the privacy fence clarified by Roy. We're good there.
I think that's kind of, because we go back to your page 4, which is your discussion of the regulatory constraint analysis, and we just talked about that, so I think
it's section 18 with the PIS. So section 18 is the traffic assessment. I didn't know that we had to put that was y'all's comment?
No, there were comments. SEC did update it, but so after today, we'll send you another little bit of, with some of these, a revised pattern book, and we'll put in, they did a little letter or revision kind of telling the answer to those questions.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll include that.
Okay. Will it be an entire revised book with those changes so that the one that they're voting on that actually goes up to town council has all the changes? I think that would probably be
Okay,
better.
yeah, then it'll be that.
Yeah, I mean, even if it's just replacement pages, because...
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
better,
just-
otherwise we'll have 20 versions and who would know which on the right. So it'd be good to almost throw everything else away and just
Yeah.
have this, the next one will be PDF. Oh,
Yeah.
it's Tuesday. Well, we already have it, so it shouldn't be any big deal. We have they addressed each of their comments, so we have that, so it shouldn't be any big deal. I'll shoot for tomorrow.
That way it's all
late today.
clean, and the version that they're voting on is
Yeah.
the same one, no changes, that goes up to
Yeah,
town
well,
council.
that's not a big deal.
Okay,
Unfortunately, there's hardly anything to change. But if you happen to know any C's commercial, let me know.
I'll go back.
Because I went through and did a search and found them in that historical document, but not in the pattern book, so.
I'll go back and take a look, because I'm fairly confident it's actually a couple places in the RPD.
Okay.
But I'll go back and pull that one.
Well, and I'll do,
Anything to help
and
get
I'm not-
it done before Tuesday.
and I'll get someone else to do the search too, because I may have not
I got you.
done a good job.
We'll figure it out. I appreciate that.
The fire marshal notes stuff.
Yeah,
That was-
Yeah.
we'll fix that. Well,
That's good.
I reached out to Chief Deal and
we might have to we won't change that document, but we might put an errata or something Right, the last page of that will make those corrections. Because that document, I don't know, it's probably gone out to financial institution stuff, and it's weird to change something that's 2 years old, I feel. But
How do you guys want to go? How do you want to proceed with that? Because I have to get the
it's an environmental side assessment that we included as an appendix, but it's 2 years old, and it's got a couple of layers.
I mean, it's an entirely different jurisdiction. than
Yeah,
they're referencing.
what do we require in our regulating pattern book?
Do you require a DSA?
Yeah. It's required. I
We
mean,
just have to contact them and get
the
it.
thing is, I mean, you
That's
can't,
us. So you
yeah, I
you
mean,
did.
I'm just curious if there can't be an addendum to the ESA stating that this
That's-
section
We'll
was an
change it.
error.
That ain't no- We'll just change it.
Because Robbie has nothing to do with it.
Right, we'll just change
He's
it.
not gonna want his name on
Yeah,
something that's not even his jurisdiction.
yeah, we'll change it, we'll fix it.
I mean, Andrew's obviously, Attorney Mills has more expertise in that, but I would think that would be an issue. Citing a fire marshal in a white glove document to fire marshal should be different.
Yeah, no, I felt like you addressed that, just
Yeah, we'll fix it.
our fire marshal, so.
I
yeah.
didn't hear that comment.
Any other questions or?
Yeah, I need to know about that turning lane.
Yes,
Kind of, you went right over that.
So if I may, because it's going to lead into that, and this is more, I want to make sure I've read everything correctly, and this is mostly for Jeff and Amanda to start, and then kind of going from there. This body deferred this until the developer could get an updated traffic study at the last meeting. We have that, correct? And we have that analysis from our engineer on the traffic impact study, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, okay, that's what I read. I don't think we talked about a traffic assessment because this traffic impact study, I know they're separate, but it, you know, those site descriptions and trip generation are all in that. Are we good there? We're on the same way. At least you're not calling each other. Are we requiring a traffic assessment on this? My understanding was that we were not. I wanted to, so we have the full traffic impact study that was done by SEC and has been reviewed by James and Associates, and we have that letter outlining that.
That's correct.
So, based upon the traffic impact study, and I've got a few other questions unrelated, so now that we have that and that report, I will now, Mr. Chairman, defer to Councilman Reed on her questions. Just wanted to make sure we were on the same page on that.
That is my question.
All right, let me, I'll tell you. In the pattern book, we actually make there's three very similar projects. There's maybe three options of one project. There's an option, and I may get them out of order, but there is one option, I'm not even going to give them a letter, but there's one option which is the development within the property boundaries. There's another option with a right turn lane in, and then there's a third option where all of them have the same within the property boundaries. The third option is donating, and I forget the dollar amount.
This has got $100,000.
$100,000 to the city, I think kind of to be used for any improvement on Highway 70.
Okay, but that's not anything of what the council approved. None of that was what the council.
Previously, but we have
Right.
to look at this one.
Right, but what I'm gonna say is that it's gonna come up.
Yeah, so I just wanna, again, Ms. Reed, I've been trying to, I wanna just, if I may, I wanna read something to you guys. This is the minutes from when this thing was approved by city council. The intent, my understanding from what the Plan Unit Development Regulations specifies is that we do this to have a give and take. This is the motion number 1268, and it says, required development requests a turning lane approval running the length of the development on Highway 70 from TDOT. If approved, the developer is required to construct said turning lane running the length of the development on Highway 70. Required development to orient the townhome single-family components of the development to consistent manner, either all facing inward or all facing outward. Required developer to install landscaping quantity and density to soften and break up the long and tall expanses of building material. Recognize the consistency of design is an important aspect of this project and include the presented design packet, including the presented building materials and finishes as part of the preliminary master plan. Increase the parking spaces from 212 to 222 and increase to 10 spaces. Require developer to construct a privacy fence on the adjoining neighbor's property. So a lot of require the developer, and it's consistently, so I feel as if there's a lot of take and there's absolutely no give. In here, it clearly specifies the turning lane. We have designed it with a turning lane. It does not specify the center turning lane. I know that you and I have spoken about it, and you said that's what you meant.
And that's absolutely what everybody on the council meant.
Okay. I understand what you are saying, ma'am. I am trying to do my best to make sure that this thing moves forward. There is, again, the regulation specifies a reasonable request. I believe that after all that we're trying to do here, given we have on version 1, given yes, our building footprint requirements for a single-family home, that is an average single-family home, we lost properties there. We lost properties, we increased parking spaces, which is impervious area, enlarges our detention areas. It takes away from our townhome yields because it's more space. We had other things that had nothing to do with this body, that is the Dixon Water Authority requirement of a pump station that decreased housing, increased costs. So given the entirety of it, I think the options where the traffic assessments clearly specifies that no turning lanes required, that traffic study being had by a third party, not myself going out there saying that's not the case, and given that that is a state road. Additionally, given that those turning lanes are not required by any other project within the city limits. Furthermore, we are saying we will put a right-hand turning lane, and we actually submitted to TDOT a turning lane the extent of the project, but then were denied the acceleration lane and had to remove that. So it's now saying a turn-in lane. We went further than that and said, okay, against the recommendation of the engineer on this project, said that no turning lane is required. A scientific, professional recommendation of a professional that has a stamp that there's a professional by the state of Tennessee said that is not required. We're now saying, yes, it is. And I am asking on what basis. And then I said, okay, I have a responsibility not only to this company, I have a responsibility to this town. I have a responsibility to travel, to sell this property, and this development is going to generate a significant amount of tax revenue. It's going to be a good thing for the town of White Bluff. I've been asked by a council member to say, hey, well, and you said you want a turn lane. Well, he said he wants more commercial. And it's a no vote for that. Okay, so that more commercial means less residential. Commercial is not renting in the town of White Bluff of new commercial commercial space. It's a higher risk than residential space, but I've done it. So I am being asked to Alex, take more risk, take more risk, take more risk. And the thing is just getting skinnier and skinnier to the point that it's just not feasible. And furthermore, that if I am going to, if there's even a smaller development there, let's say it was all commercial, it won't be able to bear that either, because now you have additional requirements outside of this body. That is, the water authority is requiring a pump station. A pump station on a site that small is just not realistic. And I tried to talk to Mr. Rogers about it. He's saying that's what he wants. Now, additional requirements by the Dixon Electric, they have increased their transformer from nothing to 25% to now full cost. I mean, we went from paying, I don't know, $30,000 on Carriage Way to Dixon to $174,000 on Cornell Road, and that changes in 8 months. So it's just, it has to be, all those things have to be taken into consideration.
And I understand everything you're saying, but my responsibility is to White Bluff, to the people in the city limits of White Bluff. And that was one of the things that was asked about.
Can I say something? I assume there's people in White Bluff that think that putting in that left turn lane provides some benefit, but that's more based on, there's no science based on that feeling, if you will, where at a pretty substantial cost, he's hired a consultant to do a review of the traffic, and that doesn't provide a benefit. And so that's kind of one of the conversations we've had internally is, that's a pretty large expense, and it doesn't really provide a measurable benefit. And that kind of question I think Alex is trying to say is, he's trying to do everything that's been asked of him. That one is maybe a little less reasonable than something else might be, because there's no basis that says what that benefit might be to anybody. I mean, if there was a benefit to his project even, I'm guessing he would probably do it. But there isn't any measurable benefit to anybody by putting in that left turn lane, not based on our project.
Scotty, I'm trying to do the best that I can. I've given everything that I've got to this thing. We've got substantial amount of money sunk to this project. We've added substantial amount of commercial that, Carl was like, dude, this doesn't have it, I'm not loading it. And others wanted more commercial. We've decreased substantial amount of residential. I mean, it's getting to the point that this thing is not gonna, it'll have to be a dead deal. So, and I think that is it not going through is a bigger loss to the town than this turning. I think me saying, okay, I'll provide an additional funds against the recommendation of my engineer to give to the town, I think that is that needs to be looked at, I think, because I'm trying to do my best. And it's getting to the point where it just doesn't, it just doesn't match. The math is just not working. And we could sit down and I can show you every single number, every single thing. And you could take it to a third party to look at it as well. I mean, it's just not working. And
I have a question, and maybe, I don't know who went. You had, there was a community meeting, I didn't go, and this has just popped in my mind now. There was a community meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
Where the developer letters were sent out to everybody in the community that touched it or something up there. I did not go. I didn't attend. I didn't think it really was kind of appropriate that
Sorry,
the council not attend. Jeff, you did. Did this come up in that community meeting? A turning lane?
Keeping in mind that That meeting was in May of 23.
No,
Oh,
this year.
This
This
year,
year.
24.
You're getting old, man.
I don't recall a discussion about the center.
We did not, for the obvious reason, we didn't want to spend money on, or commit to spending that.
Yes.
We showed the drawings that are almost identical to what you have now. We did, the things that did change, the noticeable things that changed, we changed one or two little sidewalks.
Uh-huh.
They wanted a sidewalk out on Church, and so we put a sidewalk on Church, which was discussed. Our drawing at that time didn't show it. It showed it internally. We moved it out. Since then, we've moved it.
These are all the things that were shown during that meeting.
Oh.
So, you guys are more than
There
welcome
was,
to look
there
at
was
it.
one question. What will be the impact to traffic flow and traffic safety?
I'm sorry.
There was one question, what will the impact to traffic flow and traffic safety? Trent Smith discussed the previously completed traffic study, which indicated the site would not result in loss of service. He stated the previous study was completed in 2022, although he's not aware of the exact date. The study was completed for a larger, more rate-sensitive project.
And that study is kind of the precursor to the one that is in your package, probably almost very similar. And they both are mimic the same conclusion, which is there's no measurable negative impact to the existing roads in White Bluff. Now, and I can't remember who, but someone did have a good recommendation, and I wish I could remember the person, about moving one of our entrance, not the main entrance, but our second entrance coming out on the 70. We did move, since that meeting, we did move and align up with the road across the street. And it's a right out only. At that meeting, we were talking, it was going to be right out, left out, whatever. But now it's right in and right out only. And that's what I would call it the second entrance. I don't know. Not
Is that,
everybody.
yes, is that across from Dairy Queen or is that where?
Shell's Way.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, Shell's Way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Line that up.
yeah.
I think we were not quite far off from that alignment,
Mhm.
but we scooted, that's a technical term, we scooted it over and lined it up a little better. And it's right out, right in. And I think people felt that would be, I can't remember, was it a councilman, maybe?
It was me.
It was you?
Oh, there you go.
And then also on number 36, would a turn lane extend to the turn lane at McDonald's? Trent Smith stated the turn lane was part of the initial project, did not extend to McDonald's. So there's that about the turn lane specifically. In the entrance, not be directly across from Shell's Way. That one was yours.
Well, that was one of my concerns, and people did ask you about the traffic study for the turning lane.
Yeah, but our traffic study says no turning lane is recommended.
But it was asked.
Okay.
That's what she just read.
She just read.
Yeah. Discuss how the traffic study is evaluated, A through F.
I'm going to make one of my thoughts on this. No matter which way the council goes, no matter which way we go, I'm going to suggest, and we all know working with TDOT, it's hard. TDOT will let us do a lot of things if we'll pay for it. We talked about this the other night, I think, in the council. I would like, no matter how this goes, I'm not saying vote one way, vote the other, no matter how this goes with the council, I would like for the city, the council, to start pressuring TDOT, working with TDOT, especially as we grow more out there, more residential. It's coming, it's going to happen. It's already happened. We need to see about, I think, increasing a third lane, starting where it ends now. It ends at McDonald's, a third lane from McDonald's all the way out to at least J&J. because that's where most of our traffic is, I think, that would be problems. I think that would help every business out there. It would relieve the congestion and people's anxiety. So maybe that is something that we need to start working on, knowing that TDOT probably will come and say, not necessarily a requirement, but if you want to do it, we won't stop you, but you have to pay for it. Knowing that that's what it's going to be. But that I think is something we need to work on no matter how we go with this.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, just a couple of clarifying points. In the current set of plans, is there, we call it a right turn lane, is there a deceleration lane currently?
There's a deceleration lane. And I forget which option, I mentioned there was 3.
Yeah,
That's one of the options.
There was a suggestion or recommendation by James and Associates, given some concerns on having Church Street widened from 20 feet to 24 feet. Is that in the plans currently, or is that just okay? So that's out there as well. I think that y'all would reaffirm if you're willing to do it or not, because that was a suggestion from the reviewing engineer. You have the deceleration lane already in the plans. Okay, I wanted to clarify that. The other thing was phasing, and there may be, Amanda, correct me if I'm wrong, I know there's different forms of phasing. Dealing with infrastructure, I know you stated in here that you were going to go ahead and do all of the infrastructure first, removing the necessity for a performance surety. But I don't think that's the phasing that's being talked about. It's how is the structure phasing going to happen? Is it happening all at once?
So all the residential, sir, will be done.
Okay.
All of the infrastructure will be done, because it kind of all ties in together. Once all the infrastructure is done, we'll do all the vertical will be complete for the residential. And then once the residential is built out, then we'll go into the commercial. The commercial will be called out in just phases, but we don't know which building is going to go up first, just based on what tenant leasing is going to look like. So we may say, hey, we want phase 1 and we'll phase A, B, or we may want C, but the intent is get the residential up, get it full. Now those businesses have people that will just walk across and support those businesses.
And phases don't always have to go in order.
Right, exactly. So that's the intent.
When you say that the commercial would come after the residential, what kind of a time frame are you talking about?
So we're looking at right now, if we started today, we will be done probably in 10 months, just the infrastructure. After that, if you would, those amount of homes will go probably another 12 months it'll be 6 months to build, probably. And then maybe probably another 18 months to be set. So you're looking at 24 to 36 months until commercial starts getting built. Sure.
I can tell you there's some concern about residential being built and us left hanging with no commercial.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's something that's come up by the council, so my suggestion is that you have a more definitive, whatever your plan is, saying we don't have one to do an infrastructure first, I don't think is going to be enough for at least the council, maybe not enough for this body. So just saying, hey, we're doing the townhomes first, and then we're going to do commercial next. Yeah, just, you may want to clarify that rather than just saying, we're doing infrastructure and then anything else. So
So the commercial infrastructure that needs to be put into the commercial is a significant cost, right? For me to leave it and not do anything with it doesn't make any sense. I understand your concern. I will put a timeline that we are saying that we are wanting to do this. But
Well, you're never gonna be held to a timeline. There's no
Yeah.
rights on that. I'm talking about an order of operation, is probably what the council's gonna.
can you define? Yeah.
If we put a phasing plan of utilities over the next approximate 10 months, then commencing with residential construction over the next 12 months, finally with commercial building over the following 18, some kind of verbiage like that, is that what you're?
I think so. I would need to clarify, but again, the timing between them is not as crucial because of the way state law is. It's more, which one are you doing in what order? I think it's more what the council's talking about. If you can tell them what your intention is with that, I think is more what they're looking for.
Okay. Well, I can put that in the regular pattern.
That's not a 20-page report, I'm saying.
No, it's
Bullet point,
Yeah,
what is
it's-
your intended phasing plan, because I think they'll want to see that.
Okay, that's good, yeah, that's an easy one, thank you.
So before this goes up to council, we will get a complete, revised, clean,
Tomorrow. Maybe today, but probably tomorrow.
whatever we call it, it's just pattern book.
The-
That really
the
threw me
book.
off, pattern book, yeah. Okay.
Now, any more comments, questions?
Just as a point on the regulated pattern book, I mean, the entire thing is 500 and something pages. So, and that's when I send you all the Dropbox link, that's to the entire regulated pattern book. I don't print that out for you all. I
No,
print
right.
out it's 40 some odd pages that before we get into that's what you all get printed. So it's just important when we send that link out that to get the full picture, you need to look at the link.
Okay, this right here is what's important to me today. Right?
I mean, you know, the thing that I
The
think,
amendments, I mean, the things that Amanda has gone over and that,
yeah,
Sure, think of that as a summary. The
Right.
actual thing has to be, Cliff Notes, yes. The actual thing that's voted on is the thick thing, so,
yeah.
And we'll hold our quiz at the end of the meeting to 5 or 6 questions, that's all.
What you have, I think, is important information. That in this discussion, I realized the thing that you don't have, Alex has mentioned, Trent's mentioned, the 3 different versions of the plan. Those are not in what I sent you or what you have today. They will be in that Dropbox link for you to see that.
Did you already Dropbox it to them?
Yeah, they've had that now
Oh,
for several
but
days.
it's in there.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay, you want to have anything else?
Ms. Amanda, can I'm gonna just repeat what, I understand as the updates that need to be done.
Let me get my sheet back. Okay?
So, we're going to, make sure that it's called R3 throughout.
Yes.
Uh,
And I found it, page 11. Page 11 is the only other, or section 11.
Okay.
That's the only other place outside of the appendices that I understand you are reluctant to
Is it
communicate.
section 11 or page?
Section
Okay.
11. Sorry, Al.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
The ordinance number that we're going to be referring to and the site subregs, you want those to be updated? Okay. The, essentially section 7, we'll get it from DRG or BYD, whatever they are now. The updated letter from them saying that there are no wetlands
Well, it says there's no wetlands, but they have those 5 or 6
Would you clarify?
comments or guideline things.
Clarify.
What needs to happen, in my professional opinion, is explain why this from the U.S. National Wetlands is not relevant to your project, because it clearly shows,
We'll have them define that,
yeah. Okay.
why that is.
Because that's, anybody can Google and find it.
But, and the way that works, you can go find that, and you, by default, it is a wetlands. If you want to challenge that, you do what we did. And
I
you need to define
understand that, but for general public consumption, who this is going to be available to,
They won't know that.
they will not know that. We know this because this is what we do every day, but
Yeah, we'll make it
general
happen.
public won't. Thank you.
The height of the privacy fence,
We're good.
needs to be updated,
Yeah, Roy verified that.
verified. And then the most recent comment sheet from James and Associates, that'll be the updated, you want the updated traffic study to be, put into here?
Yes.
Okay. With their latest comments. And then your concern for section 18.1, I will respond to 18.1 as see minutes from city council meeting. That's very clear. That works. As an appendix to it, and then the year needs to be updated to section 20 there, for May 2020, 24, not 2020. Chick-fil-A, we'll say all brands, or we'll just put a note so we don't have to update all those renderings, we'll say.
All
A
right,
note.
there.
Yeah, a list of brands, so we don't get sued by Chick-fil-A for doing that. And then the, again, traffic study will be in there, that's what you had, no wetlands, and then, make sure that it's white bluff and not Dixon, and the fire marshal changes in the ESA.
The only one that was skipped over was on section 3 and just making sure that parcel 5 is visible on your plat.
Yes. 3,
That covers part of it.
parcel 5 is visible. Parcel 5 is visible. Okay. That's all I have. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your consideration. We're very excited about this project. We're ready to move forward. So I think it's going to be a good thing for the town. I think it's definitely going to be about.
We'll go up to national. You couldn't put 50 Trump signs or 50 Harris signs. You get one. But if you have an issue, put that sign out. All the local stuff, statewide stuff. Now, if the local regulations don't ban you from doing any of that, you can do as much as you want. But I'm just saying, the local regulations must be relaxed enough to allow one sign per candidate or issue. There is no maximum, but there is a sign. You can't put a 60 by 40. You know, it's got to be. I have to go back and look, but I think they made it 3 by 5 or whatever, like the typical standard size is. But you have to do a normal sign per candidate per issue. You get one, and no one can tell you otherwise. So just keep that in mind, that that's always going to be a protection unless it's repealed. I highly doubt it'll ever be repealed. So that's out there no matter what we do. That'll be able to occur.
The other thing that Roy brought up, and I just verified, there is no requirement that it's in the rear yard. So
Let's add that.
let's add that.
That is what now? Say that again.
There's no
Rear yard.
requirement that accessory
She
structures
said
are in the rear
graveyard.
yard.
No, it's the front yard. Keep it in the backyard,
Just so
so
it's
different.
clear, on item B where that, the utility would override that if they say you have to have a second one.
Unless so required
Yeah,
by the public utility.
Yeah, that's
If they don't require it, you can't do it.
Right.
But if they do, yeah, exactly, yeah, unless required, that's fine language.
Required to be, and then G would be required to be located in rear yard. Okay. And then, 2 and 3, well, 2, so you all will start to see this more often, that the town planner, they make minor non-substantive changes like numbering of lists, typographical errors, et cetera, to the zoning ordinance while incorporating these amendments in. So if I see something like a there, T-H-E-I-R, when it should be T-H-E-R-E, you know, or a numbering gets off or something while I'm in that particular section, that I can go in and make that change, and I will report to you at the next meeting, hey, I also saw this was off, and I just fixed the typo.
Yeah, we've been putting that in a lot of the ordinances we passed, just for cleanup purposes.
Right, just so that, and non-substantive, and I always check with Andrew to be sure, like, is this a substantive or non-substantive change, just to be sure that I stay on the correct line.
Like closing on a piece of real estate. You know how they do that?
Definitely don't know or stuff on that.
The limited power of attorney to correct errors,
Yes.
basically that. So, I think this will come back in an updated form Tuesday. I think we'll be able to do it. So this body will vote, recommend favorably or unfavorably up to the town council because it is the zoning ordinance.
Okay, and going back up to the road name, that just stays with this.
Correct.
Right, that didn't go back, okay, okay.
But you won't be voting on that on Tuesday. I'm just going to give you kind of our final suggested version. And if y'all are ready to proceed, it'll go public notice and hearing at the November meeting.
Yes. Coming up.
Coming up. Not far away.
Okay, but Jeff, you have something you want to discuss.
Yes, sir. We've been approached by the developer to ask the town to consider accepting Shells Way and Bell Circle in the Bell Forge subdivision. Several months ago, we accepted Diane Loop. So the two remaining roads are Shells Way and Bell Circle. Once we do that, we'll have that whole development. As I understand the procedure, and Andrew, correct me, that this body basically would make a recommendation to the council, and then you all would set a one-year maintenance bond amount for that. They've done a good job out there. It's Danny and Ricky. They're good to work with. The lowest one-year maintenance bond amount would be 25% of the current performance bonds, and so I gave you a little breakdown. We've got 2 performance bonds in place now for a total of $90,000. So I would recommend a 25% of that amount, which is $22,500. So Tuesday, we just ask you to recommend accepting to the town council and setting that amount at $22,500.
I monitored and went back and checked, and they fixed all manholes, they fixed storm drainage, they fixed curbing, and they did apply the right amount of top cover, and it looks real good.
And Jeff is correct on the procedure, how we handle it. The accepting happens at this period, and then it goes to maintenance, and then this body would choose to release the maintenance bond after 1 year. But it does have to be formally accepted by the council, so you're just making a recommendation. And I guess this body would be approving the maintenance bond amount.
Correct.
That does stay with this body.
Correct.
That's it, Mr. Chair.
It's been long, intense meeting.
All right, does anybody have anything else they want to bring up? What session?
Let's go to it Tuesday.
No, it's not. What session?
Okay.
Jeff, no, you